What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to give you a quick overview of some of the data points, what's influencing it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So market just opened roughly around 10 minutes ago. NIO is recovering slightly, 0.93%. Did have a high of $4.44, low of $4.35. A couple of different attributing factors why it is going higher. So essentially, China did retaliate to Trump's potential tariff, so flat 10%. So that's giving it a nice little boost higher, but more specifically, I think in NIO's case, it is just the technicals. So it did bounce off of a very strong support. Yesterday's crazy sell-off, like 7+%, but it did hit this $4.32 range. So in theory, that's one of the biggest factors why it's kind of moving higher, but straight out the gate, shorts already are increasing 1.13 million shares. So shorts have an absolute vendetta against NIO. They want to really bring it down, but 15.41% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 205.87 million shares overall are being shorted. And so, yeah, shorts have been really doubling down over the last little bit. So now in the 15% range, cost to borrow average is 6.55%, and then utilization is 91.85. So it's just a very bad scenario, as I've kind of alluded to, but no official news from NIO itself, no SEC filings. So next week we should have a little bit more clarity on the actual November numbers. So that could be a good catalyst, hopefully propel NIO higher, but it definitely does need to be on point. The market's been very meticulous with NIO about delivery numbers, registrations, and basically what they've been saying. So when it comes down to what they've been saying, they recently did do a interview. Nothing really crazy, but this is kind of the only thing that's been recent that's floating around. And in here, they just kind of talk on design and how they're not necessarily copying Rolls-Royce, and how they're trying to be Apple just with their brand. But yeah, it's nothing really crazy. No reason to buy any NIO because of this interview. So I think just a lot of the title is very misleading just to kind of associate Apple. Shows that there's some kind of influence or some partnership or some stuff like that, but that's not necessarily the case. Moving over to options, so I'll just hit refresh. Market's been only open 10 minutes, so take that into consideration. 205,000 in calls, 41,000 in puts. So far, 47% of all the options being done are bearish. And basically from yesterday, I won't hit refresh yet, but this is the call options from yesterday. So there is a consensus for it to be above that $5 range. And then looking at the bears, they are anticipating for it to be sub 4. So it's not the best. So I think you've slowly seen just the optimism just diminish more and more with NIO. And that's just, it really does suck to see broader market just go up higher. So you see a lot of stocks recovering. Many of them are in the EV sector. So Rivian alone is up 3.25 today. Lucid is flat. Tesla is minus red right now, but still, just to see it like lag all the time is very frustrating. But aside from that though, these are all the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market above $100,000. So the last several days you have seen kind of it diminish, as well as just entities that are involved are selling. So as I've stated in the past, it's very easy for shorts to do whatever the hell they want when there is, for the most part, no big transactions. So big money is not really adding the good support that I would have really anticipated. So nobody's really looking at NIO once again. And so, of course, if you're not having those big transactions, then shorts are able to kind of control NIO. And this is how it can bring it down 7+% in one day, just based on a analyst rating. So kind of crazy stuff, but right now with it at 436, it is trading between this S1 and this S2. So 432 is going to be the strong support, and it definitely does need to be the strong support, because if not, then it is going to be heading to the threes. Flip side, 489 is going to be that next strong target / resistance, and I don't anticipate that to be touched, at least in the foreseeable future. We did have GDP coming out today, came in line with expectations. In roughly around an hour, we have PCE, so that could cause maybe some buying from algorithmic trading. But as of right now, it's just kind of stuck in limbo. It needs a good catalyst, and the technicals are looking somewhat bad, rather horrific. So it's a kind of below everything. So below the ALMA, 5100, 200-day moving average. MACD is very bearish. Stochastic RSI, you have a bearish deviation, so the orange line above the blue. But for those individuals that like to kind of buy the dip and buy when there's a lot of blood, this is kind of the time. So points to watch for, aside from the fib levels I did bring up, $4.63 is kind of that pivot for NIO that you really need to watch for it to get above. Aside from that, no new analyst ratings, aside from that crappy one a couple days back. Goldman Sachs, Tina, who has a 43% success rating. I always find it comical. So if an analyst has a good rating and they give, I'm very bullish, especially with NIO, it just gets brushed under the rug. But if a crappy analyst, not to call out Tina, no offense to them, but 43%, you might as well just flip a coin. So not necessarily the best, but an analyst like that gives a rating and downgrades, it's just mass panic. So there's a lot of other stocks of similar type of nature. One is even SoFi that I do cover under another one of my YouTube channels, and same goes for that. Like an analyst just downgrades. Like 99% of all analysts might be optimistic. One analyst is bearish and the market panics. So kind of comical, but nonetheless, I think Goldman Sachs does have some other motives possibly that could have driven this $3.90 price target, but I think that's just speculation at this stage. So let me know your thoughts on this rating, and then aside from that, what's your overall thoughts on NIO? Are you buying right now? Are you selling? Do you think that it is going to recover into kind of the fours? And what's your expectations on the November results, which should come out next week? And in my opinion, that'll be the next big catalyst for NIO. So what's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing I do want to share with you, I did launch a Patreon where I'm giving buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto, and many of them have been absolute bangers. Even ones I put out last night are already up 15%. That's more so clearly on the crypto side, but yeah, honestly, rarely recommend a lot of people to pop over there. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.